Hey, Celeste.
Hello. Last time we were in person.
We were, right?
Rancho Bernardo Inn.
Round 3. It's always a great time. So welcome to the show again. Thanks for spending some time. You just got back from a trip, so appreciate it.
I did. Another hospitality company where I'm really pushing the narrative of we have to step outside of our comfort zone. And what we've always done isn't going to get us where we need to be, which is looking at selling in a digital age. And also, what is selling today? It goes beyond our traditional, this is our sales team. This is really where you're coming into play. Like, how is marketing working for us? What is marketing? How has that changed over the years? And if your team is out there still putting flyers on people's cars, there is a better way.
Beautiful. I can't think of any person better to talk about the most effective sales strategy that most hospitality vendors aren't using. So I've got Celeste Burke Knisley with me, certified gap selling hospitality sales trainer with me today. Thanks for joining me.
Always a pleasure, Cory. You were the inspiration for me to pick up the gap selling book and then to look at it as an option, as a part of what I like to say is on my shelf as far as what I offer as a coach and consultant. So my kudos and thank you to you that we're rolling on 2 years ago.
Wow.
2 years. Yeah.
That's crazy. And it's so on brand. I told you that you're way more on brand than I am. And I'm an art director by trade. So I kudos to you on that. So the setup here is many hospitality sellers are frustrated, the F word, right? With their old outbound playbook. We're going to talk about what sellers can do to change that game plan. So I'm going to get right in it. Still a lot of misunderstanding. WTF is social selling anyways, Celeste?
I love it. The WTF. So think about social selling as a way that we socialize how we help and show up through a sales lens these days. I often talk about selling is really helping. Actually, my post was about that today. Selling is helping. It's being detached from the outcome, being in the moment with our potential buyer. But social selling, because the internet and social platforms, social sharing platforms really started to pick up even more so after COVID, when we were all craving connection during COVID. There has been this shift to showing up on an online digital space to share information peer-to-peer, company to company, where sales are taking place. So social selling, when we think about it in its most basic terms, is utilizing social channels to share a message, plant those seeds like marketers do so well, in a time when ads no longer really exist. Not many people watch traditional cable channels, and people are being hit with the dopamine when they're scrolling social media. We as sellers have to adapt and learn how to embrace those social channels as an extension of ourselves as a seller.
Beautiful. I'm going to add a little bit there. And when I asked most everybody that's selling a big ticket item, right? That's not a click to buy. It requires trust. How do you, if trust is an important element or aspect of somebody to buy from you, how do you build trust with somebody that doesn't know you, has never had a conversation with you? Do you walk up to somebody at an MPI event or any of our conventions that we talk about, immediately hit them with the sales pitch? Or do you start with some small talk? How's the family? How are things? How's business? And you would lead up to that. And I think, it's funny, I think defined by social selling, it started with social meaning social media, the tool, but it's not really just the tool. It's more of the mindset in that element of how you go about those snackable moments where you're having conversation. And then it kind of naturally opens up to how is business or how are things or what are your problems, and going down that path so that it's the right ask at the right moment, the right time, leading up to that. And we use that analogy of the marriage all the time. You can't walk up to anybody that you don't know, asking for their hand in marriage. It's built on trust. And for whatever reason, I still see a lot of disconnect. People are having a tough time still trying to connect those dots. So why do you think that? In fact, before I go on to question 2, why is there still this disconnect where people can't quite see the difference between networking, small talk, offline, online?
Yes. Many listeners and viewers probably won't like this because I'm talking to you.
Uh,
Because our leadership doesn't know what it means. And a lot of leaders had a very negative connotation around social media and
mm,
still hold those beliefs to be true.
mhm.
I came from a place where if you were online, you weren't working.
Yeah.
And that came from higher ups. It was used, this is a waste of time. What could they possibly be doing? No work is getting accomplished. And so when those beliefs are still held for many individuals who are in high ranking leadership positions, that message gets pushed down to others and they don't understand because there isn't buy-in or backup on how to use these channels for good, for business. And as data starts to leak in on just how much business is being done on social channels, leaders have to adapt or they're going to lose business. They're going to lose to their competition. They are losing and they're losing great people. So I think it's still this misconception of like, how does my team use social media? How do I empower them to? And for them not to be misusing it is still what is out there. And people haven't like empowered their team and trusted their team to not abuse it. Unfortunately, a few people abuse it. Now it's like, oh,
Sure.
everybody abuses social media. It's not the case. So I do think that is still out there, especially in hospitality, when you have people who are, and I can say this, I'm 20 plus year veteran who haven't changed their mindset because they refuse to believe that business still isn't done the way that it used to be done.
So are you also saying though that, in that same line of thinking, work might be getting done? Wouldn't you kind of have that same methodology of sending your team to high tech or the next hospitality tech trade show where there's partying going on, a lot of social activity? Is that because there's still networking people to be met there, but why can't we equate that to what you and I do every day on LinkedIn and meeting new people? In fact, I've spent way more time with you on LinkedIn than I've met you one time in
Right.
person.
In person. Yes. Because when we go to a trade show, typically our team does a lot of work in the back end to determine who we're going to talk to, what the list of attendees are that are there. We're sending out pre-emails or meet us. We have signups for our booth for people to set appointments with us. We have this tangible information that we're able to bring back to our leadership and say, look, here are the results
Hmm.
or at least some metrics of what we've set up to do. Now, does business come from that? Super questionable. I don't know. And I think from a social standpoint, without someone in leadership truly embracing, I'm just looking at metrics differently. How many people you've engaged with? What is your SSI rank? Where do you rank in your network? What's your SSI score? What is your growth of followers? How many impressions? How many members reached? It's a different way of looking at information versus a trade show, just like dialing for dollars, or they're like, how many calls did you make? Oh, how much did we book from this? So we have to adapt and we're just not there yet because I think people are like, what is LinkedIn? I don't get it. What is Instagram? What is the value of an engagement online if it doesn't mean right now? It means
Mm-hmm.
planting a seed for 6, 8 months from now.
Wonderful. Should anybody that is trying to sell a product or service to hotels even care about what we're talking about?
So it goes back to what you said. It is the credibility and that trust. So case in point, I have gone to a couple of events, high tech being one of them. And as a social seller myself, two people yelled, someone's name was Jessica, yelled across the room, like, hey, Celeste, I know you from LinkedIn. I didn't know them from Adam, right? I'm, 11,000 connections, 10,000 at that point. But they knew me. I'm pumping out content. I'm talking about sales. What's happening? What's broken? How do we fix it? What are the misses? So they feel like they know me. It's no different than when we watch a TV show and we're very upset when the main character dies off. We cry at the end because it's over. We feel like we know these people because they're talking to us and with us about a problem that we have. So when you build that credibility and that trust, that's how people recognize you and you're able to get your foot in the door because it's getting harder and harder these days for a blank cold outreach to get your foot in the door versus even yesterday I was with the team. And the benefits person said, I think I've seen you on LinkedIn. We're planting that little seed, just like a commercial does all those times. And then you're at the store. You're like, yes, I'm going to buy this Dove. Why? Because I've seen it 10 times. So it is that trust. And I think hospitality sellers have been really great about this. They, especially vendors who sell into hospitality. Oh, we buy from them because we have a great relationship. I like to break that down. I would say it goes beyond the relationship, because it's not really the relationship of you guys are going out to dinner and this person's over
Right.
at your house and like you're going bowling. No, it's because they probably sold something. They came true on what they sold you. They met the deadlines. They were there and picked up the phone. You have their cell phone. Is that trust and the credibility that goes along with that. But if you're not online and you're not out there, nobody knows who you are.
So funny you say that. You had mentioned that you've been invited recently to webinars and to speak, and I was honored and taken back when the hospitality show reached out to me. They sent me an influencer pack. We talk about the side benefits of this all the time, and Don Barnett brought this up. It's being top of mind for having that authority and having that trust. That does not being top of mind does not happen every 90 days at the next trade show. Right? Even if you got up on stage, and you and I talked about this before we jumped on here, what an honor and a trophy on your mantle to be invited to speak at High Tech. You know, what a great opportunity. But to be honest with you, I would much rather be more consistent on LinkedIn, because as soon as that show is over, half the people at the show, their leaders told them to attend. They're half there. So most of them are tuned out already. And by the time you get off stage, they've even forgot about you.
Yeah.
Versus being in the feed every day, 15 minutes over some coffee, dropping some fun, some insights, some wit. You're staying top of mind. And it's that psychological effect where repetition over time, and now it's harder than ever. You've got to be in the feed. You can't even take a day off.
No, I feel guilty when I take a day off, which I think I almost took off yesterday, but I posted right before the plane went off, what took off. And it's interesting. I was with a group of people 2 days ago and I pulled their stats. When I train, and I know that you're exactly the same way, it's not cookie cutter. I hate that. Like, make it specific to your audience and your
Absolutely.
environment. So I pulled their stats, 25 people. I looked up 25 people one by one on LinkedIn. And I pulled their stats to show them me as an individual person in the past 365 days. These are I didn't even go impressions. I went, these are the number of members on LinkedIn that I have reached. It could be a lot bigger, but I'm like small potatoes. It was like 211,000 members,
That's massive.
individual people
That's crazy.
collectively. And I'm one person.
Right.
This collective team of like 27 people had 42,000 connections amongst them. I was like, can you imagine if you dropped in a penny and the ripple effect of starting to get your message out there? What that does across just 27 of you, now 100 of you, now 150. When you get a whole organization that's talking about the culture and how they help customers and what it is that they do for you and signs to look out for so you avoid X, and you create this almost like people know you and they're thankful that you're providing this
Totally.
information to them. It's like
Yep.
it's free education. It's a free dopamine hit that we all want, like snackable content, as you said. But if you're not doing that and you're not yet embracing that this is happening, your competition is almost there. I promise, because we're educating them to get there.
Absolutely. And you said you're reaching hundreds of thousands of people, just you alone, zero airfare, zero lodging, food and beverage, no convention, thousands of dollars of fees, right?
From my home,
From your
sitting
home.
at my desk. I could be in my PJs doing the same thing. And all it's taking is my time. And I'm
Yep.
sharing lessons that I have learned. And this is what I think people have a really hard time with. They're like, oh, I'm so great on Facebook and Instagram because it's just me, 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 me. Look at me. Look at my family. Look at what we did. Look at what we ate. Look at the gym, blah, blah, blah. And then I get to LinkedIn and I know I can't be like that. And I get stuck. And I say to them, like, it's a peer to peer. We are providing education and value, the things that you're doing every single day. But yet everybody has such a block on it. And they're like, well, it's not my job. It's not me. I'm not involved with the development of this company. Like, when everybody's in it, everybody wins. Because I can guarantee you, those management companies and the vendors who are selling into them, if they start losing properties, people are going to lose their jobs. And you're not going to have people to sell into. The companies aren't going to buy your product. So it's like we have to have this, we are all in it together, even though it's not my job mentality.
Very well said. What is your best tip for social selling that most hospitality vendors have no idea or aren't using right now?
What I see hospitality vendors doing, and I saw it, and I keep seeing it post
I can see the hamsters going on in that head of yours.
is we're telling and selling versus educating and providing value. So hospitality vendors, specifically on LinkedIn, I mean, there's a couple great ones who are doing well. I think I'm forgetting his name, from Alliant, the CRO, who's out there like sharing things about AI and what's happening. A lot of tech sellers are pitching in the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And if they post, it is what Sam McKenna says, it is not show me you know me at all. It is me, 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 me. Look at our product. Look at this. Read this case study. And the thing is, as Cory mentioned, I love, and this is an exercise I just did it the other day, and I'm going to incorporate it in some of my trainings, is start reading LinkedIn posts to another human and seeing if that human responds to you or if they laugh in your face. It's a lot of just like, look what I did. Look at what our team did. Look at our new product. And commercials don't talk to you that way. They set the stage. They story tell. So hospitality vendors specifically are still in this show and tell and sell versus value, expertise, and help. I'm going to write this down.
Love that.
Tell, expertise, value, help. I'll come up with an acronym for it.
I love it. Somebody told me this, and now it's almost like I approach every sales that I go through the airs of wearing those shoes of our prospect. Even the emails I send out, would that be something I want to receive? Would I roll on it, or am I always leading with value? And I think if we just stop and put those shoes on and go, what am I doing? Like, would I want to just get pitched every day? And it gets back to that whole trust thing. Soon as I hear the feature dumping and it's about the flashy this or that, you and I just say this all the time. We don't give a shit. No one cares. Nobody cares. In fact, I don't want to hear it. I have problems that I need to deal with. And we have the ability to tune it all out. You talked about the plummeting open rates on email. I don't even answer the lure agency phone anymore. And it could be new business if I don't know who's on the other line. That's how what I avoid. We're way more annoyed with sales pitches now. And I think sellers don't realize the damage and how much more difficult it's making on them when they annoy their prospects right out of the gate. Why not?
I will say this. So I talked to a VP of HR 2 days ago in the hospitality space. So all of you vendors who are selling in and suppliers who are selling into VPs of HR, listen up. This individual told me that they're inundated with 10 to 15 requests a day on LinkedIn, all product pitches, and that they have over 400 emails in their junk inbox that is just, I just need 5 minutes of your time, blah, blah, blah. They did say they have received 2 that are interesting enough for them to respond. But even if they respond, I'm not interested, this isn't an initiative, the salesperson keeps going saying, I only need 5 minutes of your time. And I don't necessarily fault the salesperson. I fault the leadership.
Absolutely.
Are we inspecting? And is this even what we expect of our team? Because if you're not responding as a leader, and I had a very prominent VP of sales at High Tech tell me, oh yeah, I make my team do all of that, the outreach and the just email and the cadences. He's like, but I will never respond to one. And I said, this is really odd. There's like a huge disconnect here. You're saying that you're making your team do that, but it's really icky when sellers try to sell you as a VP of sales. He said, I know it's completely asinine, but that's just how it is. I'm like, but it isn't how it is. Your team can actually do more with less.
You're so funny. Some of the hospitality vendors that I know that I've talked to recently have the most sophisticated spam filtering on their own accounts. How do you not see that? It's like, why are you?
when someone in the company, a CFO, another at high tech, or a CTO tells you, we're not interested, this isn't an initiative, don't then go barking up to somebody else in the company, because like those two people are going to talk. It doesn't
Totally.
give you a very good reputation when you're doing that. Be respectful. Hey, how can I help? Is there anybody that you want to be in touch with that my network could help support you with? Show up to help. But it's so broken, and I think you're at this point where you really have pissed people off, and they're so inundated in their work because everybody's crunched, right? We're looking at bottom line, it's end of year, we've had layoffs, money's tight. They don't want to spend the time with you when the outreach is really poor and you're showing up trying to sell them versus help. But nobody's getting it. I mean, some are getting it, but
Yeah.
the vast majority are not.
Wow. Lastly, I'm very curious. I know you've had massive results, and I always like to end these segments on ROI in the terms of revenue and any other side benefits. So could you share something, some snapshot or illustration with us that we could part with?
Yes. So I did some math of the companies specifically to the hospitality. I'm going to keep it specific to hospitality because I've done a lot of LinkedIn rewrites. I have contracts. I helped construction team. I'm all over the place, and the whole gap selling pipeline aside. Right. Just from hospitality, reach outs, me being tagged on LinkedIn, me being referred, I'm at $56,000. And because I'm my own business, this is like my cash. I don't have to share it with anybody. And working on $9,000 to close here shortly. So I would say LinkedIn is working on my behalf this year, which I'm really proud of what I've built. But again, just like Cory, we all started, and we all started with the fear of, I'm going to be judged. What do I post? You just go for it, and you connect and you help other people. It's an amazing community that will give back. And I'm probably missing some. I just did this math quickly off of my head of all the major logos that I've worked with, and more to come. But you have to adapt or you will die.
Beautiful. Got my sound machine here.
Adapt or die.
Adapt or die. That's hey, talk about a hook, right? Before we leave, Celeste, what are you up to now? And where can people find you?
I'm up to a lot. So the wheels keep turning. If for those of you that don't know, we got a little fight club that goes on, which is a secret society of a couple of us. Let's just call us hospitality influencers. We're out there working on the brand deals that will eventually come. But we have some chats that go on behind the scenes of things that we're working on. So a couple of things I'm working on specifically for hospitality are breaking the norm and going after companies that want hands-on training versus someone to come in and just speak at their team. So that's something I'm really pushing the envelope on. To a cohort coming soon, specifically for sellers who want to embrace the digital change. Building out a YouTube channel, lots of sound bites.
Beautiful.
And then from a gap selling perspective, continuing to help teams who want to win more by improving their discovery, less product, no product, focusing on problem centricity. So you can find me on LinkedIn through Cory, or my YouTube channel, Celeste Sales. That's about that.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much. Third episode I knew was going to be straight up fire, and appreciate you dropping the receipts as well. That was awesome.
More to come. I'm do a lot via referral and recommendation, but I also am going to test out me doing a complete outward effort to outbounding to see what I'm able to drive so I can show hospitality sellers this is how it's done.
Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you Monday at our hospitality social, right?
Yep, looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.